Audio Textos. Joseph Campbell, The Masks of God, Primitive Mythology, Chapter 1 Prologue. The Boundaries of a New Science. 2. The Well of the Past. When we hear the word mythology, we usually think of ancient tales, forgotten gods, legendary heroes, or beliefs belonging to distant peoples. Yet for Joseph Campbell, mythology is far more than a collection of curious stories preserved by tradition. It is one of the most important keys to understanding who we are as a species. In the opening pages of The Masks of God, Campbell introduces an idea that serves as the foundation for the entire work. Throughout history, peoples separated by vast distances of time and geography have developed remarkably similar stories. Tales of great floods, heroes who die and return, journeys into the realm of the dead, divine mothers, beings who bring fire to humanity, and supernatural forces that intervene in human destiny. The forms change, the names change, the settings change. Yet certain themes seem to reappear again and again. For Campbell, this repetition is no coincidence. It is a vital clue. As we compare the mythologies of the world, a kind of cultural unity begins to emerge. Myths may appear different on the surface, but a closer look reveals that they are built from recurring motifs, rearranged in countless ways according to the needs and experiences of each people. What makes this especially fascinating is that these themes do not belong merely to the realm of imagination or entertainment. In virtually every culture, they have been regarded as expressions of profound truth. They have given rise to rituals, ceremonies, religious systems, social institutions, and entire ways of understanding reality. Myths do not simply tell stories. They guide lives. They define values. They explain the origins of things. And they offer a vision of humanity's place within the universe. For this reason, Campbell argues that the history of our species cannot be reduced to a history of material progress alone. It is not merely the story of tools, technologies, cities, or empires. It is also the story of the images that have inhabited the human mind and the visions capable of moving entire societies. Across the centuries, prophets, poets, priests, philosophers, and artists have interpreted these fundamental motifs in different ways. They have transformed them into ceremonies, songs, doctrines, works of art, and systems of thought. Yet beneath this immense diversity, there appears to be a shared foundation. Every culture possesses its own symbols. Every tradition has its own stories, yet all seem to participate in the same search. This observation leads to a central question. Why do human beings need myths? The question is deeper than it first appears. If our existence depended solely on observable facts and practical necessities, perhaps rational knowledge would be enough to organize collective life. History, however, suggests otherwise. Human beings have continually sought narratives that give meaning to existence. They have searched for symbols capable of connecting everyday life to a larger reality. They have sought explanations for suffering, death, love, destiny, and the mystery of being alive. Campbell observes that the power of these narratives is extraordinary. They have inspired acts of immense generosity, as well as episodes of profound violence. They have sustained civilizations for centuries and provided millions of people with a sense of belonging and purpose. The question, then, is not simply what myths say. The question is why they possess such power. And it is precisely here that Campbell introduces the idea that shapes the entire work. Over the past generations, disciplines such as archaeology, philology, the history of religions, anthropology, art history, and psychology have accumulated an enormous body of knowledge about human cultures. Each has contributed valuable insights, yet much of this knowledge remains fragmented. Campbell's proposal is to bring these pieces together, to construct a broader vision, to examine the total phenomenon of mythology as a long historical process. To describe this undertaking, he employs a striking expression, a natural history of gods and heroes. The comparison is revealing. Zoology studies the animal world. Botany studies the plant world. In a similar way, Campbell asks whether it is possible to study scientifically the evolution of divine images, sacred symbols, and mythological structures that have accompanied humanity throughout its history. The goal is not to judge whether a belief is true or false, nor is it to replace religious experience. Rather, it is to understand how these symbolic forms arise, how they change, and what functions they serve within human life. In other words, Campbell invites us to view the gods as part of a history, a complex history, a changing history. a history marked by development, transformation, and continuity. And with this idea, he turns to the second section of the prologue. Its title is An Unforgettable Image, The Well of the Past. To introduce it, Campbell cites a reflection by the writer Thomas Mann. The past, Mann suggests, is like an immensely deep well. The farther we descend into it, the more elusive the answers become. Rather than discovering simple explanations, we encounter ever more complex layers of human experience. This metaphor captures the task Campbell believes is necessary. If we wish to understand the origins of mythology, it is not enough to study historical religions. We must go further back, much further back. We must descend into prehistory and beyond prehistory. We must explore the deepest strata of human experience. Campbell imagines the past as a series of overlapping layers. On the surface lies the contemporary world. Beneath it stand the great historical civilizations. Deeper still stretch the immense prehistoric periods during which the earliest forms of culture emerged. And below even these lies the vast biological process that eventually gave rise to our species. The implications of this perspective are remarkable. The roots of human culture are not found solely in recent events. They reach into depths that are almost unimaginable. Behind our modern institutions stand thousands of generations of accumulated experience. Behind our most sophisticated beliefs lie patterns of perception and response that may trace back to extraordinarily ancient times. For this reason, Campbell raises a fundamental question. Are there basic tendencies within the human mind that precede particular cultures? Are there deep-seated dispositions that help explain the recurring appearance of certain symbols and narratives? If the answer is yes, myths cease to appear as arbitrary inventions. They become cultural expressions of deeper structures within human experience. This perspective brings mythology into close dialogue with psychology. Ancient stories begin to appear as visible manifestations of invisible processes, as traces, as symptoms, as signs of something operating within the deepest levels of human consciousness. For this reason, Campbell considers it essential to integrate archaeological discoveries with psychological research. Cave paintings, ritual remains, burial practices, primitive sculptures, and traditional narratives are not isolated phenomena. They are part of a single story, the story of humanity's search for meaning. And that search begins long before writing, long before cities, and long before organized religion. As we descend into this well of the past, we discover that the roots of civilization run far deeper than we usually imagine. Modern societies rest upon invisible layers of accumulated experience. Our newest ideas grow from ancient foundations. Our dreams, our fears, and our hopes may contain elements that connect us to human beings who lived thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years ago. This is the horizon Campbell opens before us in the first pages of his work. He does not intend to offer a mere collection of legends, nor a chronology of religions. What he proposes is an exploration of the deepest roots of human imagination, an inquiry into the origins of the images that have accompanied our species since remote antiquity, and a question that will echo throughout the entire book. If myths emerge again and again in different cultures, what do they reveal about human nature? In the chapters ahead, we will descend even further into that vast well of the past to explore the origins of mythic experience and the earliest forms of symbolic thought that helped shape humanity's spiritual adventure.